In the year 2000, the federal government passed a law that requires states to strengthen their DUI laws or lose money for highway construction.
We're telling you what to do whether you like it or not. And I don't know that you get to come in and force a decision on us when we enjoy certain rights under the Constitution.
Hello, I'm Renee Poussaint. Back in 1787, the notion of a strong national government did not sit well with many of our founding fathers. After all, hadn't we fought to be free of a king? So they sought to balance the powers between a centralized federal government and the 13 sovereign states. It caused intense debate. When the dust settled, the Constitution they created delegated only a few powers to the federal government, reserving all others, by implication, for the states. They called the form of the new government federalism. There are times when the federal government expands into areas that are traditionally the domain of the states by offering substantial financial help. Sometimes the funds are offered to the states as a carrot. Do what Washington asks, and we will reward you for your cooperation. And sometimes the stick approach is used. That is, adopt a national policy or significant federal funding will be held back. Nearly 40% of the deaths on America's highways are caused by drunk drivers. It's a national crisis. Traditionally, the states have had sole authority to regulate all matters related to automobile safety within their borders, including the setting of standards for drinking and driving. In the 1980s, advocates for legislation to control drunk driving brought pressure to bear on federal lawmakers to create national standards. The U.S. Congress responded by passing a law that offered states a large cash incentive for setting a standard to define when a driver could be declared legally drunk and subject to criminal prosecution. How do you set a standard? You use a machine to measure the blood alcohol level of drivers at the time they are stopped on the road. In the state of South Carolina, no such standard existed. Instead, those pulled over for drunk driving could go to court and force the prosecution to prove that their ability was impaired, regardless of how much alcohol they had consumed. A group of senators in the South Carolina legislature objected to the federal government's call for a blood alcohol standard.
That we're now going to surrender the question of a judge and jury to a machine.
Opponents succeeded in keeping the legislation buried for 10 years, making South Carolina one of only 2 states refusing to adopt a standard.
Why does South Carolina not have this legislation? I don't understand. We've got a handful of senators who have a vested interest in not passing this law.
Finally, in 2000, the standards legislation made it to the floor of the Senate. Safe driving advocates like Mothers Against Drunk Driving held press conferences on the steps of the state capitol and patrolled legislative committee rooms where a battle raged between those who favored the machine standard and holdouts who wanted to keep the trial by jury status quo.
This really is one of the worst proposed laws I've ever seen.
I'm concerned about drunk drivers on this road, but I'm also an attorney, and you're an attorney, and we have an ethical obligation.
I am a representative for the state of South Carolina as I sit at this desk, not an attorney. And that's the way I have to look at it, Mr. Lucas.
Mr. McGee.
Not in my profession, but as a representative of the state of South Carolina.
Represent one at a time in our district.
Finally, a compromise was reached. A .10 blood alcohol level was adopted. But a defendant could challenge the test results, have the right to a jury trial, and require the state to show that the machine used for testing was accurate.
My parents were killed by a drunk driver in 1992 while crossing the street. He was at a .09. The legal limit in the state in which they were killed was .10.
Safe driving advocates were not satisfied. States were adopting laws that set different drunk driving standards. They wanted one national standard, .08. Federal lawmakers, feeling the need to get tough, responded by attaching a sanction to the 2000 Transportation Appropriations Bill requiring states to pass a .08 drunk driving standard or risk losing a portion of their highway trust fund monies.
Incentives weren't working, so we had to put a sanction in place. And we put in place in this legislation regulations that required the states to pass .08. And if they didn't, after several years, we would begin taking away their highway funds. And those of us who worked hard to pass .08 had to explain to our colleagues who disagreed with us that this is about lives. This is about saving lives. And if we have an opportunity to save lives, then we have an obligation to pass legislation that would preempt states' rights.
Adopting a .10 drunk driving standard had been no easy matter in South Carolina when incentive monies were attached. Now, failing to adopt a .08 standard could mean losing federal highway funds. State Senator Brad Hutto felt that Washington's coercive approach was high-handed.
If you want to give people an incentive to alter their policy, I don't necessarily see anything wrong with the incentive approach, but the penalty approach strikes me as just heavy-handed big brother. We're telling you what to do whether you like it or not. Because in many instances, when you're from a small state, a rural state, a poorer state, that money means a lot. And I think they know if they penalize you enough, you'll almost have to take it. You'll just have to take it whether you agree with it or not.
Other South Carolina legislators, like State Senator John Hawkins, had a different viewpoint.
I would have been for .08 even if the federal government had not have mandated it. Just because the federal government has mandated it doesn't make me less for it because I'm a South Carolinian.
In the year 2000, the federal government passed a law that requires states to strengthen their DUI laws.
In 2002, Senator Hawkins introduced a bill that would put South Carolina in compliance with the .08 standard.
If we in South Carolina fail to act, then we will lose $6.5 million in the year 2004.
I introduced it the first day of session, and we held a big press conference, and it was publicized widely in South Carolina news that this bill had been introduced. It basically takes us from .10 impairment level down to .08, meaning that if you're caught behind the wheel with .08 alcohol in your system, then you are considered to be legally impaired and you're guilty of driving under the influence, period. I introduced it the first day of session. It was referred to the Judiciary Committee in the Senate. Unfortunately, it has sat there all year long until about a month ago. The chairman brought it up on the agenda. It was referred to a subcommittee, and we are waiting for that subcommittee to hold a hearing.
Whether people in other states or in the national level agree with decisions we make, the prerogative is ours to make those decisions. And I don't know that you get to come in and force a decision on us when we enjoy certain rights under the Constitution.
Will South Carolina accept the .08 standard imposed by the federal government in order to gain the badly needed millions for interstate highways? Perhaps. But when the issue gets tangled up in a debate between state and federal powers, all bets are off.